This game's not won on social media. This game's not won on telephones. This game is won with shoulder pads, helmets, mouth guards, and sweat. That's how the game is won.
Welcome to week 11 of the Bill Neese's Coach Show. I'm your host, Chip Hare. With us is Coach Bill Neese. The show is, of course, brought to you by Dick Lumpkins. Got a bump? Call Lump. Mike Lumpkin is the owner. Give him a call. We've got an estimate on the car. He'll take care of you, and his staff do a fantastic job out there. Coach, Indians wrap up the regular season with a 35-15 victory over Stebbins on Friday night, finishing the regular season at 8-2. Coach, talking about the game a little bit first before we move into the next part. Game was really a tug and pull there throughout the game. The Indians went up 7-0. Stebbins came back to tie it up there going into halftime. Mickey Anderson comes up with a big pick six, takes it back to the house. We go up 14-7, and then lo and behold, Stebbins didn't want to go away. They came back and ran the ball down the field and went for two. Actually went up 15-14. Boy, the game changed after that point.
I think it did. I think it was a game of momentum. I think both teams went back and forth. I think Stebbins came in and went with some of their best weapons. They've got a big offensive line, and I thought they did some things well. And they were kind of methodical about their play calling and looking over and making sure everything was right and everything along those lines. And a lot of times I think there were some lulls and what was going on, but that was probably, if you were on the field or if you were pretty insightful about football, that was probably one of the most intense, hard-hitting games that we've played here in a while. I mean, there was some activity going on in the trenches. There were some bodies moving. Our offensive line did an exceptional job, but they had a great defense and back and forth. And so there was some serious movement back and forth. And I know our kids were, felt a little pain the next day, and hopefully the Stebbins kids felt a little pain the next day. We're going to try to get recovered and go on. Well, very physical game.
Oh, it really was. And you talk about their team and their line, they were physical, they were big. They had some dudes. They had some guys that could go. Their quarterback, as we talked a little bit about on the show last week, there was a guy that's going to Akron, and he's very athletic and made some big plays for them. They had some guys that really could give us some trouble.
Definitely, and I thought ourselves too. We were able to do some things that we do also well, and a couple times we had some breakdowns. We thought we had a punt blocked, and we were lined up offsides, which we were. And another special teams error that we've got to make sure we correct, and just little things like that. That we just we went and looked at the film and we said, okay, let's start from the beginning. Let's correct everything we can. Let's try to get better at the things we can control and get better at for next week.
Coach, one in particular, I think it'd be behoove if I didn't mention. Shame on me if I didn't. It's 15-14. The momentum certainly was on Stebbins' side, and we get the ball back, and we put the ball in hands of Sam Schmeezing. And I think in 4 plays, he drives down in 4 plays and runs, plows himself down. And it's almost from a leadership perspective. We talked about guys in the locker room all year as leadership. There was a guy that doesn't necessarily yell the loudest or talk the loudest, but his actions speak of, boys, get on my back, and we're going to get it done.
Kind of the second week in a row he's been able to do that. He also helped us out against Vandalia Butler. We were kind of, a little sputtering a little bit, and I think he was able to get through and help us out. And I think it's the same way there. And again, our offensive line, I thought at some point, we give out game changer awards at the end of the week in our Monday meetings. And at one point during the timeout, the offensive line was talking very hard about let's make them the game changers. Don't put it back on the defense here. Let's get some points on the board and let's get moving. And I thought they did a great job. We came down, we drew them off sides, and then we eventually went in and scored. And I thought that kind of solidified it. Plus Mickey's pick six. Those are the two things that kind of got us, our momentum going in the right direction.
We haven't talked a lot about the offensive line, just in bits and pieces of names, but the one guy that comes to my mind, the guy that starts to play, Parker James, he's our center, and he's replacing what we felt, and you and I've talked about, a guy who was maybe one of the better centers we've had in a long time. So to fill that spot takes a lot, but you've got some good dudes there some big dudes. With Soliday and Bosco and certainly Anson, you got some guys there that really have made an impact in the game, and Friday night was a big part of it.
I think so, and the big negative about the offensive line when you talk about them is the fact that 4 or 5 of them are seniors. And they've played well for the last 3 years, and we hope we can just continue to play together because it's a great unit, and those guys love playing together. They communicate well together, and I enjoy coaching.
I get after in practice. You can just tell, watch them. They enjoy practice.
They do, and I just think overall that's an outstanding group of guys, and they reward us this past week. We definitely got a reward when we were down there and looking. And it's like, okay, we're going to put it in you guys' hands, and they did a great job.
Indians wrap up the regular season again with a 35-15 win over Stebbins. Now we can talk about the playoffs, and the playoffs is week 11. We have the opportunity because of where we were seated 6th. The top 8 get the opportunity to host, and we will get to host again Stebbins. We're going to run it back. Part 2 will be on Friday night. How ironic that we play that same team again. Coach, I was trying to go back to the records. I was trying to go through, and I was looking, and I hear the infamous stories of the Troy Part 1 and Part 2 games through the years. As a coach, can you remember playing teams in the regular season and playoffs? It doesn't happen very often, but you play them in the regular season, then you play them again.
No, I don't. The only time we have is the year 1992. We played Troy the 3rd game of the season, and then we played Troy the 12th game of the season in the playoffs. But we kind of went in different directions, so it wasn't like we're playing the exact next week in the exact same place.
Yeah,
we played at Welcome Stadium. And it was a whole different atmosphere.
Almost 2 months later.
Yeah, it was 80 degrees one game, and it was 25 degrees another game. So that was kind of a difference, and everybody had evolved a little bit.
Coach, we obviously know about Stebbins. We talked about them last week and this week a little bit. Talk a little bit about how. I know you talk about it's different. The film is the same for you. The scouting report's the same. For you, how does that change anything you guys are doing this week and trying to keep things moving and keep things interesting for them?
Well, I think when you play them the first time, it clarifies some things that you kind of thought was going to happen. But then it also now it's just created some more question marks now. Okay, so what if since we did this and they did this and they did this and that was their answer to this and it worked and this and this and this, who's going to stay with what worked and who's going to try to add some stuff in, and is that going to create confusion? Is that going to create a result? You never know for sure when you put something new in. Is it going to create confusion or a result? And it's the same thing here. Not sure how that's going to manage. So it's basically approaching it like another new game again. And we're looking at that film, and we're seeing them do some other things, and I'm gone back again. Okay, let's go back a couple weeks ago and see how that worked, and we're just going to keep that library of information we have, and hopefully keep our players. The big thing we want to do is just keep our players abreast of this is the possibilities. This is how you should react to it.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, and I would imagine as a coach, you're probably going back in film and saying, okay, what plays didn't they run against us that they ran in other weeks?
Yeah. That's how stuff works out, and you just got to go through and try to cover as many bases as humanly possible.
Well, Stebbins is a very good team, and they certainly showed that Friday night that they gave us everything they wanted and then some. The one thing I felt that was a great advantage for Piqua was our conditioning. Our conditioning is we've always been in great shape, but you could tell in that fourth quarter we really made I felt like we were just surging ahead, and we were in really better shape.
I think sometimes conditioning and momentum get intertwined in together, and you don't know what's what. I think sometimes, you know, you might be the most tired person in the world, and then something just sparks you, and the next thing you know, you're moving. And I think that's a lot of what happened too. We just got a couple big plays, we got a couple game changers, so to speak, and then that kind of, you know, the rising tide lifting all the ships, so to speak. And I think that's what happens sometimes, you know, with the momentum part of it. And I think it's all kind of intertwined in together sometimes.
Yeah, there's no doubt that game in the fourth quarter, as I'm sure you're probably looking, trying to bottle that energy and get that started in the first quarter on Friday night. Coach, we certainly wish you well as we get into, I believe, if I remember correctly, I've seen this as the 15th playoff appearance that the Indians have been in. This is 3 straight playoff years, you know, and you went through a period of time where, you know, we had taken a little, quote unquote, we take a little break, but we're back now on the path of we're into that momentum. Coach, we haven't talked about playoffs on the show a lot. I know it's because we take week by week by week. Now we're in the playoffs as a postseason. What's some of the things that we're talking about to our guys in the film room today before practice and our Monday meetings about postseason play and getting here? Because it's an honor.
Well, we took the bracket out. We showed them the bracket. And we want to let everybody know where that stands. And that's one of the few times that we do look ahead, because I said this is where we want to be. And in order to get there, this is what we have to do. And we have to make sure that we don't get too tired. You know, this is a process. This is almost another whole season. And so number one, we stress taking care of your bodies. We stress making sure you're getting rest. It's starting to get cold out now. You know, just everything changes. You know, make sure you're keeping warm. Wear a hat around, you know, that kind of stuff. Just the old school stuff that I think works quite a bit. That you don't have a kid come in here sneezing and wheezing and coughing and those kind of things. So once we got that underway, we did talk a little bit about this was our 15th playoff appearance, so we're pretty proud of that. And in the course of the last couple of years, we've had our 700 win, we've got our 15th playoff appearance, and I think those are the things that our players need to hear about, because not to say, hey, you know, this is an expectation, but rather, you know, this is a standard by which you live. I mean, this is, you're in it. Okay, you're not looking up at it, you're in it. You're in the middle of it right here, and you got to keep it going. That's your job, to continue to keep it going and continue to move this culture along.
Important to know the history of where you are to know where you're going, and as you said, we're in it, and that the responsibility of what you have and the opportunity to wear the Indian head on the helmet on a Friday night in postseason, that's pretty special. And there's a connection to a lot of guys in this community. Some of them were their dads in this line had the opportunity to do that, so they're having the chance to do that.
Yeah, it is, and it's, you know, it's nice. You get your playoff shirts. Everybody's excited when they see the new design of the playoff shirts, and so, you know, that comes out, and just it's a good day. Monday's a good day when you're in the playoffs, because you know, you get a chance to hear about, you know, the new team, and in this case, you hear about the team we just played.
Right.
And but when we rewatched some film today that we watched everything Saturday, but even today you can go back and pick out a lot of things and go, hey, hold on now, did we see this? Did we emphasize this? Did we do this? And I think our players understand. Our players have a great desire to get better, and through film and through their work in the weight room and through their work in the field. And I think that's going to hopefully show this week that we're going to try to get better.
Well, there's no doubt. I know we will. And Coach, we certainly wish you luck as we get into postseason play. You know, we talked about, you know, there's the off season, then there's the preseason, and then there's the season, and now we're in the postseason. And the postseason has a different feel to any of those others. And
it does.
And I know we'll be ready to go.
Thank you.
Coach, talking about a couple of our guys who are underclassmen, you know, we've talked to all of our seniors now, and there's 2 guys in particular that I think about that are a big part of this junior class, and we have a good number of them. But one of them comes to my mind is Mickey Anderson and Parker James. Both, and we talked about Parker a little bit earlier in the show because he's the center. He's the guy who's kind of getting the start. But then you've got Mickey, who's been a great. You talked about his pick 6 the other night and how that's helped us. Talk about those 2 guys and how they've helped kind of move into some leadership roles and learning from the senior group. And now that as we're getting towards the end of the season, now they're becoming leaders themselves.
Parker James, first of all, has just been tremendous with his ability to get better throughout the course of the year. He is, as you alluded to earlier, he is replacing probably what a lot of people consider to be the greatest center we've had at all league centers at McGuire, and it's hard to replace a legend like that. And I think he's done an admirable job. I think in being only a junior also. So we're very pleased with what he does. His weight room ethic is unbelievable. His practice ethic. He's never missed a practice. He's here every day working his butt off, and so I think that he's got an unlimited amount of potential. He's a big kid, about 6'4", weighs about 305 pounds, and we look forward to him having a great year, finish this year, and then also next year.
You can see the confidence in him as the year has gone on. I think also, he wrestles, which I think has also been a good sport for him, and Coach Bryan has worked on his confidence, but also pushed him in ways that I think has helped our football program, which is when you talk about weight room work ethic and just overall just pushing him. So he dropped some weight. So there's a guy that I was disciplined enough that he knew that, hey, I need to make some changes with what I'm doing with my body so I can help not just wrestling, but more, football and just be better.
Yeah, and don't underestimate that basketball career he had.
He could shoot it. Trust me.
He was a three-point machine for a while there, and too bad that he shut him down.
Sometimes you thought he was a guard,
Yeah, too bad that he shut him down. Now, he was enjoyable watching playing basketball. I enjoyed teasing him. When he'd roll in for his 2 to 3 minutes on the court and then come back out. But he's a special guy. And then Mickey is on the go 24 hours a day. He is a three-sport guy, but you know what he does harder than anybody else probably? And that is lift weights. He lifts during the day. He's been a daytime lifter for the last 2 years, and I'm telling you what, he rolls into the room, he gets the card, and when he's done, there's smoke coming off that card. He does not play around. He does not have off days. He does not have days where, well, let's just do a couple light sets and then move on. He's in there moving iron every day on a consistent basis, and it's shown. It's shown the confidence level he has. After the Xenia game, we had to switch around some things on our defense. And I think we're a much better defense as a result of it. And one of the things we did was we inserted him into the lineup, and then we moved a couple people around. We moved Bryce back to safety, which is more of a natural position for him. So I think we got those two guys in there very well. That allowed Kai Warner then to become a feature back. So I think it was a win-win-win for all of us, and we couldn't have done that without him being able to play that position, first of all. Yeah. And he's out there in space averaging 10, 12 tackles a game right now.
He's owning it. He's really been there's a guy that you can just see, and I'll use the word swagger. I think from the midway part of the season, you can just see him really shifting into a point of a guy where he just owns that position. He really believes that he needs to be out there and helps our team, and you can feel it. And I think the pick six certainly spoke to that on Friday night.
It was great play that allowed us just to get that momentum and keep it moving. And it's something that doesn't surprise me because he's got a really good instinct for the football. The position itself is a little new to him, but it's kind of good in a way that he only knows how to do it right. He's never developed any bad habits at that position. So he knows where his eyes are supposed to be at all times, and then he knows where he's supposed to react. If your eyes are wrong, you're going to get bad information and you're going to do something wrong, and it's going to cost us. His eyes are very rarely wrong.
Well, as we were talking about Parker's work ethic, his work ethic, outstanding. And when you got guys like that, two guys like that, that's a lot of. The future's bright for Piqua, and it helps those younger guys follow those guys as well. Yeah,
well, it'd be tough to be 0-10 and talk about having good work ethics. So I would assume most of the time. I mean, and that's a common thing for us. Is I marvel at how much effort these guys put in, how much time they put in, how much we ask them to do, and they respond. It's just amazing.
Yeah, and when you ask them to do it, they don't look at you like you got four heads. They just, part of it is like, yeah, that's what we do. That's how we roll here.
Yep.
And the Indians will roll into Alexander Stadium again, hosting Stebbins for part 2 of that series this year. It'll be, again, 7 o'clock kickoff. It'll be on the Indian Nation station. More information to come about the potential of live delay, but it will be on there and certainly on Spectrum Channel 5. Coach, we certainly wish you well, and we know it's going to be a good night for Pick One Friday.
Thank you.
We're going to come back for part 2. We're going to talk to Mickey and Parker, and we're going to talk a little bit about how that transition to varsity has worked out for them. We'll be right back. Welcome to Week 11, Part 2 of the Bill Neese's Coaches Show, the players portion. Now we're the underclass. We've got through all the seniors. Now we're the underclass. And gentlemen, go ahead and give us your name, the class you're in, and the positions that you play.
My name is Mickey Anderson. I'm a 2024 grad, and I am a outside linebacker and a wide receiver.
My name is Parker James. I play center, and I'm a junior.
Class of 2024. I guess that was a sophisticated way of saying it. Yeah, good. Thanks. Yeah. Guys, just to give us an idea, what's it been like for you guys to be a part of a team? We've gotten through the regular season. We've gotten through the gauntlet. It's a long year. 10 games, 8-2. That's a really good record. How do you feel a little bit, Parker, about the season so far as we get ready to get into postseason?
You know, I came in at the beginning of the year not knowing what to expect, first year playing varsity, but I was also pretty excited about it. You know, got through the season, now we're at the playoffs, and just ready to take it 1 week at a time and see where we go from there.
Yeah. Good answer. Do you have a different one?
Kind of. Could you restate the question?
Yeah, the question is, talk a little bit about, it's been a long season. You're 10 games in. What's the first 10 games been like for you? And then as we get into postseason play, what's your mindset as you change into the week 11 of football playoffs?
You know, starting off this season, I was thinking that we would go undefeated, honestly. It was a little heartbreaker whenever we lost our 2 games. Mm-hmm. But going into these playoffs, we got to have a different mindset and get more connected and just be ready. Be ready to shine.
Well, you know, Mick, I'm gonna hold you on to that because you're such a thinker, obviously. I'm gonna have you talk a little bit about the part about the losses. I mean, you certainly go in every game thinking you're going to win. Mm-hmm. No one goes in there thinking, well, I think we're going to drop this one tonight, but I think you go in there thinking we're going to win, just particularly with the success that we've had. When you've lost those 2 games, what have you, you think, a team learned from those experiences and helped us as a team move forward and get better?
Being in those close games, it'll help us in the long run because we're going to have some tougher games going on in playoffs. So I think it was pretty good to be in those close games.
Well, Mick, I'm going to put you on the spotlight here. You had a big interception the other night against Stebbins, 80-yard run back, pick 6. I'm sure that obviously made you feel good on an individual level, but as a team, that's a real big pick-me-up because we were kind of struggling there, and we needed some momentum, and that really gave it to us. Walk us through that play and what that felt like for you.
Well, you know,
look at the smile.
As soon as I caught that ball, I saw Anson running right at me, and I was like, oh, no, what's going on? I figured someone was right behind me, and going back at film, sure enough, it was. Anson picked off that guy and gave me a better lead and took it to the house.
Took it to the house. As we look at you the last few weeks in particular, Mick, you can tell you're getting more comfortable in that position. You've been very impactful and you made some big gains for us. Do you feel like you just love being out there on a Friday night underneath the lights?
Oh yeah, I love it. I like hearing the crowd roar whenever you make a big play. It's pretty awesome.
Pretty sweet, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
A little different than baseball, which we'll talk about here in just a little bit. Parker, you're in a very important spot.
Yeah.
You're snapping the ball, so we can't start doing anything until you snap that ball.
Yeah.
So Brady, what's that been like for you? Because that's been a new position for you this year and learning that. How's that been for you and that relationship with Brady?
At first I was pretty nervous about it. Didn't really know what all to do yet, but I started falling in love with it because I get to touch the ball every play, Chip. So I get to start the play, and me and Brady's connection just got better and better. I love it.
You talk about our offensive line. We're pretty solid up front, and you got some big dudes up there. What's your relationship like with those guys on there? What's the chemistry like with your offensive line?
Oh, I love them, man. Last year I was with them. I know I didn't start last year, but I was still, one of the up-and-coming linemen. Sure, yeah. And last year I feel like
a lot from those guys, I'm sure.
Yeah, Caleb and Anson and Soliday and all of them just helped me out. And, still sometimes I'm not 100% what I'm doing. I can just look to my right or look to my left and ask them, where do I go? And they tell me exactly what to do. So they're a big help.
Good teammates like that.
Yep.
Guys, we're into postseason now, and this program is obviously been special to you guys. You guys have been involved with it for a while, but it's not the only sport that you guys play. You know, you guys you're a wrestler.
Yep.
You turned wrestler last year.
I did.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about that experience, what that transformation's like, and how football helps wrestling.
Yeah, I think wrestling is a big part of football, and it just helps you tremendously because with explosiveness and hip movement and everything. Last year was the first year I wrestled. I played basketball before and just realized I'm a little not, what's the word, athletic enough to play basketball, getting up
Your
and down.
size was fit foot wrestling better a little? Is that
Yeah,
what you're
I mean,
okay.
yeah, making it up and down the court wasn't a big thing for me, so just, yeah, I fell in love with wrestling and lost a bunch of weight and just fell in love with
Coach
it.
Bryant got you on that.
Yeah.
That he didn't want messing around, was
Yeah, they killed me a couple times.
So it's been good for you.
It has.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, we know we talk baseball, but you also play hoops. You're a three-sport athlete. Talk a little about what's it like being a multi-sport athlete, and how's football help you in those particular sports. I know baseball is something you really enjoy, but talk a little bit about those things in particular and how football kind of meshes with all that.
Well, football, it really gets me ready for basketball season and baseball season. Gets me in shape, and it gets me in the right mindset, I'd say.
Good. Guys, one thing that I'd like you guys to kind of leave the show here with is you guys are going to come back, and we're going to do this again next year in a different form, and we'll talk more about your future down the road. But talk a little bit about, you know, when you look into your goals as a junior and how life has changed from, how do you view Piqua football different as juniors and in the starting lineup now than you did before as you were sophomores, kind of maybe looking from the outside in on the starting lineups, maybe on special teams from time to time, but how's it been different for you this year, and how do you take leadership a little bit differently for Piqua football now? You got the microphone. Let Parker start with that.
You know, I would say going from the JV games to the varsity games are a lot faster, and everything's a lot more upbeat in the varsity games and
More intense.
Yeah, the JV games are kind of quiet. Not really everybody's into it, and then you go to the varsity games and got a big crowd to play in front of, and it's just varsity.
JV, you're not watching film and you're not breaking down schedules.
Right,
for it,
yeah.
so.
You're not in the film room, and you're not getting graded for what you do in those JV games. So I feel like the varsity games are a lot funner and a lot more just entertaining for everybody.
Okay. Yeah. How about for you, Mick? What's it been like being somewhat in the spotlight, so to speak?
It's definitely interesting. You got a lot of people looking down at you, a lot of people looking up to you also. So it's, you know, you got
a lot of responsibility, right?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
You know, you got to try your best because you know you got them other guys looking up to you. So.
Well, guys, we certainly wish you guys the best on Friday night as we look to run it back with Stebbins, and we know it'll be a good one for you guys. Good luck.
Thank you.
That'll wrap up the Bill Neese's Coaches Show. Remember, the game will be on the Indian Nation station. We are still waiting from the Ohio High School Athletic Association as to whether or not we will go live. It is possible that we will go live. You'll hear more from us on that. If not, it'll certainly be on delay, just as we've been doing throughout the year. Kickoff at 7 p.m. You can still attain your tickets on the Indian Piqua City Schools website, also through the Ohio High School Athletic Association. For Mick and Parker, I'm your host, Chip Hare. We'll see you next week.